Hello and welcome to the NHL Best Bets. Last night we had quite a few games. We picked two of them. First was Buffalo in New Jersey. We provide, our machine provides some value for under 5.5 goals, but these two random teams scored a bit more than predicted. So end result was 5-3 for Buffalo, and bet was clearly over. Then Washington New York Islanders top matchup of the East Division, pretty much as predicted. Maybe not so a few goals, but still Islanders took care of the business by 1-0 victory, and they continued to fight top position in the East Division. Tommy, how do you saw these games?
I think we were pretty much correct in both of these. When two bad teams meet, usually it is an under. Buffalo shot 18 times in this game on the net and scored 5 goals. So some issues for New Jersey Devils in the goal and also defensively. Like we've seen throughout the season, very fluctuating team. Sometimes they are playing well, they are creating chances, sometimes not. Now they created chances, couldn't really score, but scored still 3 goals against Buffalo, the worst team in the NHL at the moment. So 3-5 final score, quite clearly an over. But in a normal circumstances, this sort of game would be an under if you shoot if the shots on goal are as low as they were, and if the great chances are as low as they were. So I think this was a little bit of a fluke of a game when it went so high scoring. So I would again play an under when these two teams meet. If they are willing to win games, they will have to do better in defense, and neither of these teams are able to win games if they go to this sort of all-out attack mentality. And then the game in New York, very much as expected. New York Islanders led the shots. They shot 39 times on goal, so clearly more active team of these two. Capitals shot 29 times, so quite a lot of shots, only 1 goal scored by New York Islanders. But Islanders was a better team. They played more balanced ice hockey and they definitely deserved their victory in this top matchup. So they are definitely a contender, especially in the games where they get to play familiar opponents. They know what to do. They know how to cut the wings from these sort of teams like Capitals. And not a lot going on offensively for the very good Capitals team, but New York Islanders are a kind of team that have the chance to shut these teams down. So very interesting spring coming ahead to see if the still an underdog New York Islanders are able to match these sort of better teams or traditionally better teams.
And I think Islanders had 3 pipe shots during the first period or so, so they were at least much closer to the scoring also earlier in the game, but Washington had their chances as well, but Semyon Varlamov played pretty well as a goalie, as also Washington goalie Mr. Wanacek was very good in his position as well. How about other games? Yesterday we discussed a little bit about the top matchup in Central Division. Carolina won Florida 5-2. It was tight game until the last period when Carolina pulled away from the Panthers. And then also New York Rangers had a clear home victory against Pittsburgh in Madison Square Garden. Do you think Carolina is now the team in the Central Division, as Tampa lost maybe a bit surprisingly to Columbus last night?
Yeah, it's a very interesting division for those top 3 teams. So Carolina, Florida, and Tampa Bay. Like we've mentioned many times, Tampa Bay maybe not putting all their effort in this regular season. They are learning and training to play for the playoffs. So I wouldn't count them out in any case, even if they are now 3rd in that division. Carolina played yesterday better than Florida did. It was a very close matchup, but finally Carolina got a couple of power play goals Also, their first line played really well, so it was quite a tough matchup for Florida Panthers. But 5-2 is not reflecting the game really that closely. I think it was a much more even battle, but a good thing that our simulations got Carolina correct here, as they did Tampa Bay losing to Columbus, so a great value there for Columbus. Tampa Bay now in a phase that they are not playing really well. They lost already to Detroit, now they lost to Columbus. It's probably not going to be a long losing streak because that's something that they don't usually do, but let's see where the value is in their next game.
And how about New York Rangers? Before the season, we predicted them to do well. They haven't done so well, but are they now turning the page and maybe giving good fight for the playoff spot?
They're at least showing up offensively now. That's something that we've been expecting them to do from the early on. They have such a talented team, especially in the offense. They haven't scored a lot of goals. Now exploded, of course, 8 goals against Penguins, which a couple of them were pretty lucky ones. So maybe, again, not exactly the justified score, 8-4 here, but good amount of goals. They played well. It was a good performance, although they got outshot 45-25 by the Penguins. So a little bit maybe some sort of statistical fluke as well. But Rangers deserved their victory, and they've been playing better and to their strengths in these past couple of weeks. So maybe they do have the chance to upset. There is a tough battle going on for the 4th and final playoff spot in the Eastern Division as well. Now there is Boston, Pittsburgh is close by, and Rangers and Philadelphia then challenging for that 4th and 3rd spot. So very interesting division. As we predicted early on, it will be a close one because the leaders, Capitals, 54 points, and the 4th, Boston, 46 points. So only a couple of points there.
How about the overall, how our simulations did during the last night round?
The simulations did extremely well, surprisingly better than we did in our picks. We got only 2 incorrect in the simulations, so altogether plus 483 profit from the side value. So excellent night in that regard. The money line -3, so very close to evens. A couple of these surprises, of course, caused the minus. So when Buffalo beat New Jersey and Columbus beat Tampa Bay, those money lines were incorrect as well. In the total department, we were 50-50, so 4 correct, 3 wrong, and 1 no game. So okay night, otherwise side value extremely well.
Sounds good. Let's see what kind of qualitative picks we have for tonight. We have 5 games there on the schedule. Arizona continues their trip in LA. They beat Kings last time 5-2, and there was a bit surprising goal scoring burst for the Coyotes. But this time simulations show good value for the under 5.5, even though the odds are maybe not as good as we would hope, but still under 5.5 goals with -125 odds is the pick for Arizona at Kings game. And then second game, Montreal goes to Toronto. Toronto has been playing on the road for last 4 games. Now they go back to home, and they are in good shape. I think they've lost 2 out of last 10, so winning 8 in a good shape on the road. And even though the odds are not very high here either, -141, there's a great value for home team here. And as historical nugget of statistics, Toronto has a very, very high win percentage in last 3 seasons when they are coming back from the road. So over 68% of the games they won when they are playing first game in their home arena. Tommy, do you think these are the best available picks for 5 of the games tonight?
Yeah, it's a very tough slate tonight of the games, but I do think these are very good picks, even with the odds that are there. So could have been higher, but we're gonna go with this because there is value, of course, in both of these picks. In Los Angeles, Arizona is the team that is going to the playoffs at the moment. Kings were kind of challenging. Now they've lost a couple. Very hard to see them going anywhere. But if they are to win these games, they need to play tighter defensively. And against Arizona, that is possible. In the last game, it was 2-5 for the Coyotes, but Coyotes scored 3 goals early on in the game. Los Angeles Kings scored 1 goal in the first period, so it was already 4 goals in that first period. Then after that, very quiet game, and that's something that we're probably gonna see tonight. More of this similar hockey that they played in the second and third period of that last game. So both teams play well defensively, not a lot of offensive stars in either end, and I do think that the goaltenders will pick up from what they left off in the last 2 periods of that last game. So under 5.5, great value in the simulations. Almost 70% of the simulations go under 5.5 goals. So let's go for that and hope that there will not be a random guy scoring a hat trick again. And the other game is the Northern Division rivalry between Toronto and Montreal. The North, we've done really well in simulations. We are by far the best division for our side value. Toronto is a better team than Montreal. There's no question about it. Montreal, one of our favorites to play against, and we've done pretty well with that. They were a little bit, I do think, overhyped before the season. They did some changes in coaching, playing a little bit different maybe than from the early on in the season. At first, they scored a lot of goals, then they didn't, and now they are back in the sort of medium way that they are not entirely sure, or I'm not entirely sure how they are supposed to be playing. They're not very good defensively, but they're not producing a lot offensively. So I do think that Toronto at home with that offensive talent they have, they will bring a couple of goals against Jake Allen or Carey Price, whoever is playing in the goal. So I do think Toronto will beat Montreal quite comfortably in this game. And while the value is not the best odds-wise, according to simulations, Toronto wins 65% of these games, while the odds are around 59%, minus 141. So let's go for Toronto, even with these odds.
Yeah, I think it's good to go for Toronto, as we have few other favorites here on the road, Colorado and Edmonton tonight, that odds are much worse, and there's still some value in those games. So do you think parlaying Avalanche and Oilers would make sense for tonight?
We have to count the percentages here, but I don't think parlaying is ever a good idea, especially when it is these heavy favorites, because they do lose eventually and occasionally to the lesser teams. Especially now in Minnesota, Colorado goes there to play against Minnesota. They played 1 game already. Colorado won that one. Very heavy scoring game. Probably this one, I do think they are going to be a little bit more defensive. Colorado, of course, now has gotten their offense going, so they are capable of scoring a lot of goals. But in simulations, they have 71% chance to win it. The odds are around 65%, minus 200. So there is value for the visitors, but we stay away from this one because of the lousy odds. And quite similar thing in Ottawa, Edmonton going there. The simulations show 66% for the visitors, and the odds are minus 190. So quite far from what we are usually picking here, but there is value for both teams. But the parlay is such a risk that I would stay away from that one.
And then the 5th game of the night, Vegas Golden Knights continue their road trip in St. Louis. St. Louis has lost now 7 games in a row, and I think they won only 2 games out of the last 14, so they are sliding fast to the bottom of the West Division. Do you think it's time for them to win, or are they going to aim to break Buffalo's losing record this season?
I sure do hope that they will win at some point, because St. Louis Blues is a lot better team than what we've seen. They shouldn't be sliding this hard. They've had some injury issues. They've had issues in the goaltending department. So the things haven't gone their way. But I do think that they have the potential to upset even Vegas this time. The simulations do give them a chance of 47%, which is quite high compared to the odds, which are around 130, plus 130. So good value there for St. Louis Blues at home as an underdog. But like we've seen, Vegas is a team that is very hard to beat. Now Marc-Andre Fleury probably starting as the goaltender, hard team to score against. And if their offense gets going, they have created a lot of chances, but usually not scored that much, except against St. Louis. They've scored 5 goals, 6 goals. So they definitely had the Blues number there. So I wouldn't put my house on St. Louis Blues, but they do have a chance because it is a lot better team than what we've seen in the last 7 or 8 games that they've lost.
Yeah, the matchup between Blues and Golden Knights is not really favoring the Blues because they won first game in January in shootout 5-4, but since then they've always taken 5 goals against them from the Golden Knights. So last 2 ones have been 5-1. So I think Golden Knights are just a much better team this time than Blues.
It does seem that Blues are missing Alex Pietrangelo a lot because the defense has been all over the place after he left. So, of course, Colton Parayko was out injured and a couple of other guys. So maybe one of the reasons is why Blues are not able to win these games is that they're lacking a little bit leadership in the defense, and that's their strength, or has been their strength previously. They are not very offensive team either. So hard season for the Blues, but I do think that they are still a better team than what we've seen.
Let's see how it goes tonight. Shall we wear tomorrow Golden Knights jersey and cap? But first of all, we follow the Montreal-Toronto game, and then other games will follow later in our NHL night of hockey.
Yeah, and in Los Angeles, we cheer for the goaltenders.
That's what we do. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.